Today we're going to be looking at 2 Kings chapter 15. And I want you to just imagine with me, just imagine open up your newspaper every day. And every day you open up the newspaper, you see that another senator or another congressman or another governor or another president has been killed, has been assassinated. Imagine just every day, and you wake up with a newspaper. We got a new leader over here in that state. We got a new leader over here because they took over this one, and you would look at that and you go, that's kind of hard to live in. How do you build a structure, and how do you set up a nation, and how do people live with the understanding of trying to have an everyday life when every day is completely chaotic? Well, we see that in our world even today. I mean, we got, we're not being bombed, but imagine the people that are living in Iran. Yes, the Iranian administration there may not be perfect, but there are still people there. You got Ukraine. But then even in our history, some of us, I think, are maybe old enough to remember how we had those series of assassinations in America. First, we had the assassination of President Kennedy. Then we had the assassination of Martin Luther King. And then we had the assassination of President Kennedy's brother, Bobby Kennedy, when he was running for president. And then we had the assassination of of Malcolm X. And you remember that was all, within a couple of year period of time. And you look at that and you recognize that our nation was in struggle. We were dealing with the Vietnam War and dealing with conflicts in Korea. And you look at that and you go, what is going on? The issue a lot of times is that there are behind the scene things, and we're going to see this on today. And I want to point out when we read this, especially if you're reading it in the King James Version, you're going to see this word conspiracy brought up in the reading. And a lot of times we think about it today. We have that concept of conspiracy theory that everybody kind of tosses around. And usually when we hear the word conspiracy theory, we're thinking, well, that's people just taking things out of its proper sense and exaggerating or elaborating on it incorrectly. And that may be. But the thing that we should not do is to think that there are no conspiracies. There are conspiracies. There were conspiracies in America to keep the slaves from getting knowledge and learning how to read. That was a conspiracy. Everybody agreed to. There was a conspiracy in Germany before World War II to isolate and to infiltrate any Jewish populations, and they began to do that consistently. Even after slavery, there was a conspiracy which we call in America Jim Crow, where America wanted to continuously keep people of color from being able to elevate and to develop, and if they got too high minded in either status or economics, there usually was agencies like the Ku Klux Klan or different ones that would conspire to come together to kind of slow down, stop, or just brutalize any progress that was happening. And I'm only mentioning the kind of conspiracies that we can probably relate to, but you can imagine conspiracies that are going on in so many other nations. We think about the conspiracies that we see in various tribes within the continent of Africa, the conspiracies and the fighting that happened in Ireland and during the times when they had all of those fights against the Protestants and the Catholics. We can go on and on with filling our so-called modern historical newspaper with all of the various things that happened that brought forth just awful situations that people had to navigate through and yet still try to continue to have some semblance of a life. Well, even today we can bring that up and bring out some things, which we will try to do as we go through this lesson on today. But in 2 Kings chapter 15, it is blatant. It is like, okay, this person don't like this one, and we're going to kill him, and we're going to take his place. All right. I mean, you talk about, the Democrats and the Republicans fighting. Well, here we're going to see when they don't like you, they're not going to just argue and do some legislation and do lobbying. No, they just kill you and get rid of you. And you wonder, well, how does this happen? And what is God allowing? What is he doing while this is happening? And what we recognize, it's kind of like what Malcolm X said when Bobby Kennedy got shot. He said, the chickens have come home to roost. And that's a statement that basically means you reap what you sow. When you choose to live a certain way, the evidence and the consequence of what you have chosen shows up. Right? And I will try to elaborate a little bit more on that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go through this. This is going to be a rapid fire. We're going to see kings rising and kings falling. We're going to see people coming up and killing. And we'll see all of that. And we'll try to explain this as we go through it. All right, so let's take a quick listen here to our reading, 2 Kings chapter 15. Let's take a listen.
Chapter 15. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. 16 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jecholiah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. Save that the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burnt incense still on the high places. And the Lord smote the king so that he was a leper unto the day of his death. And he dwelt in a several house. And Jotham the king's son was over the house, judging the people of the land. And the rest of the acts of Azariah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Azariah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the city of David. And Jotham his son reigned in his stead. In the 38th year of Azariah king of Judah did Zechariah the son of Jeroboam reign over Israel in Samaria 6 months. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his fathers had done. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Shallum the son of Jabesh conspired against him, and smote him before the people, and slew him, and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Zechariah, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. This was the word of the Lord which he spake unto Jehu, saying, Thy son shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the 4th generation. And so it came to pass. Shallum the son of Jabesh began to reign in the 9th and 30th year of Uzziah, king of Judah, and he reigned a full month in Samaria. For Menahem the son of Gadai went up from Tirzah, and came to Samaria, and smote Shallum the son of Jabesh in Samaria, and slew him, and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Shallum, and his conspiracy which he made, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. Then Menahem smote Tipsah, and all that were therein, and the coast thereof from Tirzah, because they opened not to him. Therefore he smote it, and all the women therein that were with child he ripped up. In the 39th year of Azariah king of Judah began Menahem the son of Gadai to reign over Israel, and reigned 10 years in Samaria. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not all his days from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Pul the king of Assyria came against the land. And Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him, to confirm the kingdom in his hand. And Menahem exacted the money of Israel, even of all the mighty men of wealth, of each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back, and stayed not there in the land. And the rest of the acts of Menahem, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Menahem slept with his fathers, and Pekahiah his son reigned in his stead. In the 50th year of Azariah king of Judah, Pekahiah the son of Menahem began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. But Pekah the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired against him, and smote him in Samaria, in the palace of the king's house, with Argob and Arii, and with him 50 men of the Gileadites. And he killed him, and reigned in his room. And the rest of the acts of Pekahiah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon, and Abel-Beth-Maachah, and Janoah, and Kedesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, and all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. And Hoshea the son of Elah made a conspiracy against Pekah the son of Remaliah, and smote him, and slew him, and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham the son of Uzziah. And the rest of the acts of Pekah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. In the 2nd year of Pekah the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, began Jotham the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, to reign. 25 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. He did according to all that his father Uzziah had done. Howbeit the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burned incense still in the high places. He built the higher gate of the house of the Lord. Now the rest of the acts of Jotham, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In those days the Lord began to send against Judah Rezin the king of Syria, and Pekah the son of Remaliah. And Jotham slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father, and Ahaz his son reigned in his stead.
All right. So, as you can see, a whole lot of death, conspiracy, fight, and inability to call on God and just ask God to give understanding throughout this entire chapter. And this chapter covers quite a number of years. And what I will say is one of the things that we have to always keep in mind, and I'll explain it when we go through it, is that this is a parallel account. You notice that when it talks about an individual king and then it says that he died, and it says, but are not the rest of his acts written in the books of the Chronicles of the King? And so you're going to get sometimes additional information that can explain something that makes you go, well, wait a minute, I just read this, but I'm not sure why this happened. And I'll try to bring that out. And then when we go through, Chronicles telling of these, then we'll bring in the King's part as well, because there's information on both sides. It's kind of like how the Gospels are, how the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all tell incidences of Jesus's actions, but some of them tell it from a different perspective or give more information. Haywood, did you have a question? Did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in this whole thing, I see the key word, though, that's moving in here that we might, people might fly over it, that word sin.
Mm-hmm.
It appears a lot in this chapter.
Yeah.
So that's what's behind all of this.
That's exactly what's behind it. You'll see that they continue to sin, and that happens on both sides. Some of the sin is blatant, and the others of the sin is kind of hidden, but it's there. And that's the thing what we have to recognize. In Israel, the sin is up front. They're like, no, we don't serve God. We serve these two idols that our founder, Joam, set up. And he was the one that orchestrated these two golden calf idol worship. And we consider these to be our gods that brought us out of Israel. Now, they're not serving false gods in the sense that they have another God. They're just claiming that those idols in Israel are the God that brought them out of Egypt, which is not true. And so a lot of times we'll have the name, and that's like where Jesus says, why call ye me Lord, Lord, but you don't do what I say? So they're calling those idols that Jeroboam set up in his initial kingship in Israel, and they're still doing it. And so we'll bring that out as well as we go through this chapter. But like Haywood said, that there's you're going to see sin in here. But the other word that I wanted you to kind of focus on was conspiracy, because what we sometimes forget is when we say conspiracy, you can think, okay, well, people are gathering together and they're doing things. But what you sometimes don't put into the equation is that there is a spirit behind the conspiracy. And we always have to remember that. And that spirit oftentimes is not one that just comes from the evil heart of man, although it can start there. But it's inflamed and fueled with a spiritual thing. You know, you look at the temptation at the very beginning in the book of Genesis between Satan and Eve. And Eve was, just looking at the fruit. And then the devil said, well, have God said? He's questioning things. And so he's working a individual redirection of thinking. And that's what conspiracies do. They try to get you to think about a certain thing a different way. But you have to get together and join thoughts and collude together to come up with this is how we're going to think about this now going forward. And like we stated earlier in my preliminary remarks, there was a collusion to say, well, we're going to look at all African slaves this way, or we're going to look at all Jewish people in the nation of Germany this way during the time of World War II. And people come together with these ideas, but these thoughts a lot of times stem from a spiritual concept. And if we don't recognize that, we can go along with some of these things, and we'll point that out as well when it talks about how the people wanted to do certain things. But let's get into it and go from here. So it starts off in chapter 15. It says, in the 20th and 7th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel. Now keep in mind, this is Jeroboam the second. And that's the other thing that we have to keep in mind with these kings and these names. A lot of times the names can be somewhat confusing because some people have the same name as a king before them. And some kings have two names, which we'll see with Uzziah, who is also called Uzziah in the book of Chronicles, and also in Isaiah, he's called Uzziah. And so sometimes you can think, well, are these the same people? And sometimes it just takes a little extra digging to realize, okay, this is the same person, but he's called by a different name. It's kind of like when a person is elected to the rank of being a pope. A lot of times they'll take a new name as when they become pope. But but they're still kind of can be known by their original name. But then once he became the pope, he altered the name. And some of these kings did the same thing. And so some of them are called by various names in different portions of Scripture. So in Kings and Chronicles, you're talking about Isaiah versus Uzziah. It's the same person. All right. So it says Amaziah, Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, reigned 16 years. He was when he began his reign when he was 16 years old, and he reigned for 52 years in Jerusalem. And that's the key to recognize, okay, where we're talking about. When it says Jerusalem, that means we're talking about the southern nation. That's Judah. All right. And his mother's name was Jechelitha of Jerusalem. So once again, another key of this particular name is referring to this king, but it's the king of Judah, not the king of Israel. All right. And it says, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. So right off the bat, he's honoring God. He's doing things that he recognizes that needs to be done as a person that wants to believe in the Lord, and he was trying to be a godly leader. But it doesn't stop there. And boy, does this affect a lot of times people in leadership, also us. Because the one thing that you are in leadership as well. You lead your own mind, your own spirit, your own soul, your own body. And one of the things that the scripture tells us to do consistently is for us to hand over that leadership role to who? To Jesus Christ. And that's why we go through the Word of God so we can find out what does the Lord want us to do versus what's in my heart, what's in my mind, what do I want to do? And that exercise of seeking the direction of God can keep us from being consistently going wrong. We're thinking we're going in the right direction, but we're not. And so, but let's keep reading here. It says that he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. But look at verse 4. Save. In other words, it says, save, that basically said, except for. All right. And so you recognize here that God sees that, yeah, you're trying to serve me, but you still got some hangups that you won't let go. You still got some things about you that you're like, I don't want to let this go. And look what it says: save that the high places were not removed. This other form of worship, still trying to serve what? Two masters. And that's something that we see consistently here in these leaders. And when it speaks to the leaders, it also speaks about the culture of the nation. But then you also have to recognize that some of the people adopt that culture. Now, are there people there that says, this is wrong, I'm not going to any of their high places? Yes, there are some good people there, which is why when we even look at the kings in Samaria or in Israel, the northern part, they were all evil, but there were some good people there still. And remember, when Jesus came, he said to the disciples, and the disciples were confused by this, he said, I must needs go through Samaria. And when he went through Samaria, that's where he met the what? The woman at the well. Yeah. And the concept was, those people are evil. Well, they were. And their culture was bad. But there were still individual people that wanted to know God in a bad place. You know, you got some places that are really, really horrible. You know, you got some of these, really rough regimes that, build on corruption and murder and various things. But that don't mean that every individual in there is wrong. Now, that nation and that culture will pay the price, but God still sees the individual heart. Right? Think about the thief on the cross. Right? There were two thieves. They were working together. Both of them were thieves. The Bible calls them a thief. But his heart was looking for a better way, and he found it. It took him to the end of his life, but he found it. And so, yes, there are people that are in bad circumstances. Why was this man a thief? Maybe that's how he was raised. Maybe his mama and daddy were thieves. I don't know. I don't know the story behind his circumstances. But there are a lot of people that are caught in situations that are just difficult, but they're still trying to find God. And so we got to always remember that. But the fact that these things were not taken away by leadership, right? And that's where we have to try to address that even in our own self. You are the leader. Have you addressed this? And you say, well, I don't know how to fix it. I can't do it. And I'm not strong enough. Well, that's why we need to recognize our sin. And that's, being able to recognize that we are a sinner. We're born in sin, saved in iniquity, and then recognize we can't fix it. There's certain things we can fix, but a lot of it we can't. And we're going to continue to run into stone walls and get broken up because we're trying to handle things that we should be allowing God, you got to come in and fix this about me. I can't fix this about me. I got this way about me that it's just not right. And I keep getting beat up about it. God, I hand it over to you. And that's what we don't see with these kings on either side when it comes to serving God. The Israel side was way blatant. I'm not giving any credit to God. Whereas the southern side, Judah, was like, well, I'll give credit to God. However, certain things I'm still going to keep. So we'll see this going through this, and it still produces problems. And it says, he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord according to all that his father Amaziah did. Verse 4, save that the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burnt incense still on the high places. And I highlighted the word people because the people are like, okay, if you're going to allow this to happen, I'm going to do it. It's kind of like, in our nation when I was growing up, it was wrong to do gambling. But now gambling in America is legal. And guess what? People are doing it. Why? Because they made it legal. Now, somebody would say, well, even if it wasn't legal, people will still gamble. Yeah, but not everybody, not all the people. Because they recognize it's wrong. I'm not going to do anything wrong. I don't want to get caught. I don't want to get thrown in jail. But when you make it legal, now everybody feels like, oh, I'm going to go do it. There's nothing wrong with it. And so when you legalize high places, you give people free reign to just go and do it. And these high places were places where they went and they distorted worship. And God was not pleased with that. All right, so they burnt in the high places still. Look at verse 5. And you got to pay attention to this. It says, and the Lord smote the king so that he was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house. He couldn't even live in the palace. Why? Because a leper can't live with other people. He had to live in a several house, or a separate house. And Jotham, the king's son, was over the house, judging the people of the land. So now he was kind of a vassal king because he got leprosy, and his son was really interacting with the people because the king had this leprosy disease that the law of Moses said he had to do what? Continuously keep himself separate. Now you would say, no, I just read these first 5 verses. Why does this guy got leprosy? What happened here? Well, this is once again where you have to go to Second Chronicles. I think it's around the 26th verse.
26, 21.
And you'll see where this actually is the situation where Uzziah, reigning for all of these years, when you're reigning and you have a successful reign, and he also built very sophisticated technology in his weaponry in his army, and he was like, wow, can't nobody mess with me. His success got to him. Now we don't see it here, we just see the downfall, but we do see it in Second Chronicles, which we will go through in detail, and I'm just going to kind of skimp over it here. But he got so high-minded that he decided, I don't need the priest. I'm going to walk into the regular courtyard, and I'm going to walk into the holy place, and I'm going to offer incense myself. And that was not his job. The law of Moses distinctly said that was a place that only the priest was supposed to go. So when you talk about the first separation of church and state, the king was not supposed to do the work of the priest. That's why Saul got rejected, because he decided he was going to offer the offerings up, and he was going to do what he wanted to do. And so there's only one king that is also priest. Who is that? It's Jesus. He is our high priest, but he's also our king. He is the priest that offers, but he's also the lamb. Right? He's also the sacrifice. And so Jesus is all in all. That's why the Bible speaks of him in every facet. All right? And so this king decided he was going to go and do what he wanted to do, and we'll, like I said, we'll go into more detail down the road. But the thing that happened when he went into that holy place and he began to offer up the incense, and the priest confronted him, and he basically told the priest, "I'm king, get out of my way." And the minute he said that, his skin turned into leprosy. Right? And so God judged him. And the thing about it is that God judged him. He didn't kill him, but he made him recognize you're living in a mindset that you think that you have done all this, you've gotten all of this success by your own strength, and now you're going to try to become your own religious mentor, and you're going to become, it's like becoming God. It's the same spirit that entered into the heart of Satan. He had all the success and beauty, and it says his heart was lifted up. But the thing about Uzziah was that God let him know early, you're not. And when he got the leprosy, he immediately ran out and repented. Unlike Satan, when he got, thrust out, he continues to fight against God. Right? And there is no repentance for that. And there's a lot we could say about why Satan has no opportunity for repentance. But that would take a long time, and so was that Miss Penny? Miss Penny said, "I got a lot of scriptures to try to finish up in about 25 minutes." There, let's see if we can do that.
Come on, Sister Penny, can't you give us a little grace and give us 10 more minutes?
All right, let's try to move through this. And so in verse 6 it says, "And the rest of the acts of Uzziah," and that's the other thing about this chapter. I mean, I don't read these names very well, so when I mispronounce them, give me some grace.
You got it, brother.
"And all that he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah?" And as we just stated, we went through that already. And Uzziah slept with his father, and they buried him with his father in the city of David. And Jotham, his son, reigned in his stead. So the son that was already doing the king while Uzziah was the vassal king was kind of running things, and now he's actually becoming the king. All right, and it says, and he reigned in his stead. All right, now look at verse 8. "And the 38th year of Uzziah, king of Judah, did Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, reign in Israel." So now we're switching nations. We're switching from Judah to Israel. Okay. So Zechariah is now the king, and it says, and reigned over Israel in Samaria. Another clue that we're talking about the northern part, Samaria. 6 months. All right, this is a very short reign. Well, why is it so short? Well, let's keep going. Look what it says. "And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. As his fathers had done, he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin." Now, remember, Jeroboam was the founder of the split nation of Israel, and he was the one that set up the two idol worship places with the two golden calves, and said, "These are your gods, serve them," and brought forth all kinds of various festivals, and he anointed other people other than the Levites to be the priests. And so what it's saying is he continued in that culture. He didn't try to change it. And there's so much going on in culture even today that is not correct, and people are like, well, we're just going to live with it. We're not going to try to change anything. And it says that it was looked upon by God as evil. He said he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his father had done, and departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Verse 10, "And Shalom, the son of Jebaz, conspired." There's that first word right there, right? Conspired. So it's like, we're going to get rid of this dude. Why? Because he's an evil king? Yeah, but the person that's getting rid of him is evil too. So what you have here is you would think that evil would be united against God, but evil is not. Evil is only for itself. Right? And so the sad thing about it is that he's looking at him saying, "You're not doing a good job," but he's going to come in and not do any better of a job from a spiritual standpoint. Now, some of the kings in Israel were kings that brought forth economic gain, which is all they were focused on, because that was their God. All right, that's what they served. But they didn't bring forth any spiritual connection to God. All right. And so it says that he conspired against him and smote him before the people. What does that mean? He didn't do it in secrecy. He smote him right in the front of people. He did it in public and slew him and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Zechariah, behold, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? We're going to see that a lot in this particular chapter. And this was the word of the Lord, which he spake unto Jehu. Now, you see Jehu's name being brought up. Remember Jehu? Remember, he was the one that went and killed Jezebel. And he was doing all this work and fighting against the kingdom of Jezebel. and all that she tried to set up, and yet he was still deciding, I'm going to follow and do what God tells me to do, but I'm not going to serve God. He reminds me a lot of Joab, uh, David's commander. He's going to do what God says to do, but he's not worshiping God. And once again, what did Jesus say? You know, why call me Lord, Lord, and you don't do what I say? And the key is when it says don't do, he's doing, but he's not worshiping. That's the part he's leaving out. All right, and so it's the same thing with this particular individual. All right, and so it says in verse 12 that the word of the Lord, which was spake unto Jehu, saying, Thy sons shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the fourth generation, and it was it came to pass. So Shalom was the fourth king, and so God honored that. Now, the thing you should keep in mind here is that his family had 4 generations to try to get it right. Jehu was obeying but not worshiping, and none of his successors did any better. And it's kind of, it's sad because it speaks to how we can have this, looks like a succession of well, this is a good thing, this is a good thing, but nobody's making any policy to change. Speaks to us. All right? Are you seeing things year after year that you need to change? But you know what? You said you were going to change this last year and the year before that, and you're still dealing with the same difficulty. You're still getting the same frustrations, the same struggles. Change has not been done. You have not dealt with it. And so God said, well, I promised Jehu, because he was the one that obeyed me to take down the corrupt situations that was not only just in Israel, but also Athaliah, Jezebel's daughter, was reigning in Jerusalem. And so he helped get rid of all of that because he killed her, the king of Judah, that was following Jezebel's conspiracy type of politics. And so it was running in both nations. Well, God honored Jehu for that, for his actions, but nobody served him. And so his fourth king didn't reign a very prosperous reign. He died in just a few months. All right, so we see here that the promise of God, even to somebody that doesn't serve God. If God makes a promise, he's going to keep it. And that's why we have such confidence in what God has promised to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob. We got so much promise in what God had promised and made the covenant with David, and the covenant that God made with Noah, and then the covenant that God makes with us through Jesus Christ. This is why we have confidence in it. If an evil individual like Jehu, God says, I will do this for you, and all they did was still do evil, and God said, I'm still going to keep my part. I'm going to honor my side of the bargain. You might not honor it, but I'm going to give you what I promised you. And he did. And that's something to keep in mind about how good God is, even to bad people. It's just amazing sometimes to think about it. But let's keep going. Verse 13. Shulem, the son of Jabaz, began to reign in the 9th and 30th year of Uzziah. Now you see the name just changed there. Instead of Uzziah, now it's Uzziah. That's okay, because we already explained that. And the king of Judah, and he reigned a full month in Samaria. All right, so now this new king that just killed Shalom, I'm sorry, the king of Shalom, let me rephrase that. King Shalom was put to death by this conspiracy, and he only reigned what? 1 month. Verse 14. And Maham, the son of Gadad, went up from Tirzah and came unto Samaria and smote Shulem, the son of Jezbaz, in Samaria, and slew him and reigned in his stead. So now we got this second conspiracy of we're going to kill the leader and take his place. This seems to be a regular occurrence now in the northern nation of Israel. Why? Because this is the culture that they have now built. As Malcolm X said, the chickens have come home to what? To roost. And so you don't have any connection with God, and the plants and the seeds that you are planting are now growing. And so, yeah, you had some financial success, you had some economic gain, but you're not going to have peace and you're not going to have stability because the thing you are planting is a sinful plant. And it's going to bring forth the fruits of sin, ultimately. Right? And that's the part that sometimes we forget. Verse 15, and the rest of the acts of Shalom and his conspiracy which he made, behold, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And then it goes on and it talks about Mahina, and it says, Mahina smote Tivsah, and all were therein. So he went and attacked this other nation, this other city, and the coast thereof from Tizer, because they opened not unto him. Therefore he smote it. So he tried to make an arrangement with this particular, it looks like it was a coastal town, a coastal city, and they would not agree with him, so he attacked it. But look what he did. He attacked it, and all the women therein that were with child, he ripped open. So he didn't just go and do war, he went and did terror. You talk about terrorist activity. So I'm not only going to take over your territory, but I'm going to look for any woman that I see that may possibly be pregnant, and I'm going to slay her and rip up her children. And it brings forth this mental trauma that you put upon the area that is really unnecessary. You know, usually you take prisoners of war, but he didn't want prisoners of war. He wanted terror. Why? Well, this is the culture he's being brought up in. He doesn't have a mindset of God. He doesn't have the things that he has. What can I do that can create the most terror? And that is the mindset of what the spiritual evilness does. All right? It tries to torment. All right? And sin will bring torment if you decide to live in it. All right. So verse 17. In the 9th and 30th year of Araziah, king of Judah, began Meaham the son of Gadol to reign over Israel, and reigned 10 years in Samaria. All right, so he's reigning in the northern area. Verse 18, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. So once again, what do we got? The consistency of the northern nation. I'm going to do that which was evil. And departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, following their founder. So they had a lot of, they had patriotic loyalty to their founder, Jeroboam, but their founder was wrong in his spiritual concept. So just because something is what we consider to be, what's the word we use for that, when things are historical, traditional. Just because things are tradition doesn't make them right. There's a lot of old traditions that people, well, this is how we used to do. That don't mean it's right. And so what he's following is he's following in the tradition of Jeroboam. But Jeroboam's tradition was evil. All right? And so that became a problem. Look at verse 19. And Pul, king of Assyria. Now, I underline that because here we go now. Assyria eventually will be the nation that will overthrow Israel. Right? And so the Assyrians are going to be extremely powerful. But right now they're not that powerful. They got their nation together, but they're not a superpower yet. So Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land, and Micah gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver. So he said, you know what? Why should we fight? Let me just give you some money. Let me give you some valuables. And so he gave him 1,000 talents of silver. Now, the difference between him and when you look at Uzziah, king of Judah, when he was being attacked by Sennacherib, and Sennacherib wrote him a letter and said, "This is what I'm going to do to your nation when I come in there and overthrow you." Uzziah took that letter and brought it to God. He said, "God, look at what they're saying." And then God came and destroyed Sennacherib's army using, the power of God, angelic power, and slew all of his army. Well, that's not what's happening here with Mayana. When Pul comes down, he's like, "I'm gonna pay you off." So he's basically got a kind of a mobster mentality. As long as you paying me off, I won't come in and bother you. But you got to keep paying me, right? And so look at how he does the payment, though. It says, he said, at Pul, he gave 1,000 talents of silver that his hand might be with him. So now we're working together. This is another what? Conspiracy.
Yes.
To confirm the kingdom in his hand. They're trying to confirm the kingdom by their evil alliance. But Paul is getting this money. And Menahem extracted the money of Israel, even of all the mighty men of wealth. So he taxed the wealthy people, said, "Y'all going to give me the money to pay for this guy so he don't come in and attack our land." And the wealthy people agreed to doing it because they're like, "Well, we don't want to lose our beautiful houses. We don't want to lose our beautiful chariots and all the stuff that we have developed." And so the wealthy people allowed it. And it says each man 50 shekels of silver to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back and stayed not there in the land. So he said, "I'm going to leave. I'm not going to stay in the land." And so the key here is, are you going to go and trust in your money, or are you going to trust in your God? Now, the problem here is that the offer of the money seemed to work because he turned back. He left. It looked like it worked. It was like, "Oh, we made the right decision." And that's the confusion and the mirage and the deceitfulness of money. The love of money, not money itself, but the love of money is the root of all evil. You're not going to solve your problem with money. Are you going to take your issues to your money or your strength or to your God? And the key is we should take our issues to God. But I can fix it this way. I can pay this guy off. You can't pay the devil off. He's never satisfied. And the scripture, when Satan was tempting Jesus in the wilderness and Jesus rebuked him by using the word of God, the scripture says that the devil left him for a season. The devil looked for another opportunity to come back, and he did. Right? And so that's the thing we got to keep in mind. You can't pay off the devil. He's never ever satisfied. He's always looking to kill, steal, and destroy. And right here, he just stole some money. Right? So, and we're going to see the Assyrian army quite a bit going forward. What's interesting, we'll see them even when we go into the book of Jonah, because Nineveh was the capital city of Assyria. And when God told Jonah to go down to Assyria, to go down to Nineveh and tell them that if y'all don't repent, God's going to destroy you. This is why Jonah didn't want to go down there. I don't want to go down there. This is our enemy. And so, it's important to recognize that, this was the reason why he was resistant. But it also shows you, once again, that God recognized there may be some good people in this bad culture. And guess what happened? When Jonah went down there, for a time, they did repent.
No.
Right? And so that shows you that God, he works in all these places, regardless as to how the culture is set up. God's looking for good hearts. All right, in verse 21 it says, "And the rest of the acts of Menahem, are they and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel?" Verse 22, "And Menahem slept with his father, and Pekahiah, his son, reigned in his stead. All right, so now we have another king in Israel, 23. And in the 15th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 2 years. Now, once again, relatively a short reign compared to some of these other kings. Well, why was it short? Well, let's take a look. 24. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. There we go again. Consistency. We're going to hang on to the traditions of Jeroboam, our founder. Right? He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. That's another thing that you can kind of underline. Jeroboam, son of Nebat, the original first king of the divided nation of Israel, was the one that made the nation to sin, because he brought a wrong philosophy that people followed. And they're still following it. And it's now tradition to do it, but it's still wrong. Right? And eventually, God's going to use the Assyrian army to wipe it out. Okay. Verse 25. And Pekah, the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired. There's that word again. Another conspiracy. We're going to get rid of this dude. Right? Why? What did he do? Well, once again, this is the culture. This is the mindset. You know, I want to be the king. I want to be the boss. I want to be the rule. I don't like the way you're doing things. Versus a culture where everybody says, we're going to let God rule. We're going to let God lead. Right? Because when we let God lead, even if the Lord has us go through something that we don't like, we're not trying to overthrow God. We recognize God does what he does, and it's all things are for our benefit. All things work together for good to them that love the Lord. So we relax and be comfortable with God in the days when it's good and in the difficulties, but not in Israel at this time when they don't like what they see going on. It's time to start killing folks. Right? And says, and he conspired against him and smote him in Samaria, smote him right in the capital city, in the place of the king's house, right in his house, with Argob and Archiam. These were two people that were probably there as his advisors or his protectors, with his 50 men of Gilgad, the Gileadites, and he killed him and reigned in his room or in his stead. So once again, we got this murderous situation that's happening where people are just like, I don't like what's going on. I'm going to kill you. Why? Because once again, that's part of the culture. This is what was planted. This is their tradition now. So now their tradition has become, if you don't like them, kill them. That's become the tradition. So now murder has become the rule of the day. But wait a minute, where does that come from? Jesus said that Satan was a liar and a murderer where? From the beginning. So you see here the scent, the fingerprints of a spiritual conspiracy that's happening in the spiritual realm that is seeping into the minds of the people of the day. Just like that can happen today. Right? Stuff that seeps into our mind that doesn't come from God, but it comes from the thoughts and the concepts of an evil satanic philosophy. 26. And the rest of the acts of Pekahiah and all that he did, behold, they are written in the books of the chronicles of the kings of Israel. 27. And in the 52nd year of Uzziah, king of Judah, Pekah the son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel and Samaria and reigned 20 years. All right. So towards the end of Uzziah's reign in Jerusalem, all right, he was the king of Judah. And remember, he's the one that has leprosy. So it's just showing you at different times who was reigning as king, parallel to the other king. And we know that he reigned for 52 years, so it was time towards his end. Now we have Pekah, and once again, these names of the other one was Pekaliah. This one is Pekah, and the names are somewhat similar, and sometimes they can get confusing, and it does get confusing, especially when you don't pronounce them well, like I do. All right, but now Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and I think that's also why they also give you this the mother's name or the father's name to help make sure that you kind of know who is who. All right, and that definitely helps when you're going through trying to get the understanding out of this. The son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and he reigned for 20 years. Now he had a fairly long reign, 20 years. All right, that's a decent amount of time to be king, and obviously somebody was okay with him from their cultural concept. And nobody was conspiring to kill him yet. But let's keep going. 28. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. So longevity does not equal godliness. Just because he reigned for a long time, that don't mean God is long suffering with this individual. I'm going to give you time. Some people he didn't give time. Some of them only last 6 months. You're not going to change. So you're out. And some of them he gives them time because there are other things that they can do that God says, well, I'm going to make sure that I exhaust all of your possible means in which you could turn and make a difference. And you struck out every time. Every year. You just missed. All right? And so he did that which is evil. This is 28. He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. And he departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Do you see that consistency? Your traditions are the problem. That's the problem. Your nation was founded with idol worship. Your nation was founded with resisting God and serving your own made-up gods. That's how you were founded. So just because it produced a foundation doesn't mean that the foundation was set by God. There's no other foundation that we can set than of Jesus Christ. He's the great cornerstone. And so there are a lot of traditional foundations that are not godly. All right? So a lot of times we think, oh, our foundation of capitalism in America, that's really the godly way. I wonder what it would say if God wrote a book about us. Did we do the sins of our forefathers? Right? There's a lot we can go through history, and they try to polish up and fix up a lot of our history. Right? I don't know how God would see it. Does he see it, in a way like he saw Judah? They served God, but still kept some bad activity, or they just did bad altogether. And so we see the two concepts here of these two nations. Both of them do bad. One just does bad utterly. That's all I'm going to do. And the other does bad, but still recognizes God. But neither one of them are serving God totally. Okay? 29. And in the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came, let me try to get this one, Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon. Now, didn't they pay off Assyria?
Yes.
But now here they come again. And look at the cities that they take. Now imagine if we paying off somebody, the next thing we know, they come in and they're taking New York and Philadelphia and Boston and Washington, D.C., and they're capturing all these cities of ours. Well, wait a minute. I thought we paid them off. I thought we had an agreement. Right? But look at the cities. They take Ijon, they take Adbethel, Machin, and Jehonia, and Keys, Desh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee. Now, Galilee, you recognize that name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where Jesus was raised in. All right, so that lets you know that these nations that were grabbed when Jesus got here, they were still there, but they were now under Roman occupation. And you say, well, wait a minute, how do we get from them being a nation to, well, they're going to go through Assyria, and then eventually Babylon. It's going to take them over. Then the Medes and the Persia, then the Grecians, and then the Romans. All right, so it's going to see a lot of struggle. And then it says Gilead, but then the next one is kind of interesting because what we have now is not a city, but we're losing an entire tribe. Look what it says. All the land of Naphtali. That whole tribe. In other words, that's like, well, we took a few cities, but we took a whole state. We took a bunch of cities, but we took the whole state of, of Virginia, so to speak. So now we taken Naphtali. That whole area has been taken over by Assyria, and this is the beginning. All right, and look what it says here. It says, and carried them captive to Assyria. So what they did was, I'm taking you over, but I'm not going to let you still live in the land. I'm going to take the land, and I'm taking you to a foreign land. You're going to go live in Assyria. Like Miss Penny said, that sounds like slavery. We're going to take you from your land and move you to another land. And we're going to see more of that as we go through this. All right. Verse 30. And Hoshea, the son of Eliad, made a conspiracy against Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and smote him. So here we go. All right. So he reigned for 20 years, but the conspiracy caught up with him as well. All right. That concept of we're not happy because look at what happened. We done lost all these cities, and we done lost a tribe, and we lost the money you paid. Remember, you gave them all that money. So we lost the money, we lost the cities, and we lost the whole tribe. Why? Because they're not going to God. You would think they would say, you know what? Let us just go to God. But they won't do it. All right. And so Elah made a conspiracy against Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and smote him and slew him and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham, son of Uzziah. So this, Uzziah is now gone, and Jotham is now the king in the southern area, and it's just showing you the comparison between the two kingdoms. All right, verse 31. And the rest of the acts of Pekah and all that he did, behold, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Yes, they are. We'll go through them. All right, we just got a little bit here. I'm past my time. I know it, but I need 5 minutes. Okay, and we'll finish up. 32. And let's in the second year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, did of the king of Israel, began Jotham, the son of Uzziah. Now you see, once again, they're switching the names back and forth. King of Judah to reign. So now we're back in the southern kingdom. Okay, we're back in Judah. Verse 33. 25 years old was he when he began to reign. So he started reigning at 25 years old, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. Okay, so we got this new king now in the southern area. And yes, I know this can sometimes be confusing, zigzagging back and forth. But it's important to try to push it together. But what we really want to get out of this is that God is watching and seeing over all this going on. We're looking at just a couple of nations here. We got the Israel and Judah. Then we got the Assyrian. We got Assyria. We have various other nations, Edom, different ones that show up here. But imagine the fact that God is showing how these things interact between these nations, and God is dealing with it. But what He's not showing us is how God is dealing with all the world. He's just giving us a little bit of it. And look at our world today. God is working and seeing what's going on in every nation, every city, every culture, and every heart. God is aware of it. And like how with me, I go through this and I'm trying to squeeze some common sense out of this, and I can get confused real quick. I'm like, okay, now who was who? Which one was he? Okay, yes, he was that. And I try to explain it. God is not confused at all. He knows everything that's going on, every heart, like Jesus said, the Lord knows even the very hairs of our head. So he's got it all outlined, and he tries to share this with us. But imagine if God tried to explain to us everything that's going on in the world, we would not be able to comprehend it. And that's what John said too. If we tried to write down everything that Jesus did, there would not be enough books in the world to contain it. But the fact that we get a little peep in some of the stuff that's going on here, to me, is amazing. And he lets us see this. All right. So we're finishing up here. Verse 34. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. Well, he's a king in Judah, and they believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they're following. They don't have any false gods. They have the palace and the temple, and they're serving God, and they still have the Levite priests. Okay, and he says he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. He did according to all that was his father Uzziah had done. Look at 35. Howbeit, these howbeits, these nevertheless. These situations to say, yeah, you did that, you're trying to serve, but you're still holding on to things. Howbeit, the high places were not removed. And these are the places where people go and they do their own kind of, I want to serve God the way I want to serve him. They're still calling on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they're doing it in their own way, not according to Scripture. Not according to the way that it is written in the laws of Moses. Because the law of Moses never says go into a high place. The laws of Moses never say go into a grove or an Ashtoreth temple prostitute. It never says serve the stars and the moon and astrology. It never says that. But they're trying to seek God, but they're seeking God. They're trying to seek the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but from a different way. Okay, and God is not happy with that. And it goes on. The people sacrificed and burnt incense, and so they're burning incense. Who was supposed to burn incense? Only the Levite priests was supposed to burn, and only in the temple, and only in the holy place. There were certain things that were supposed to be done, but I'm gonna do it my way. Right? And God has certain things that you can do. You can burn incense, but it only has to be this person, and it only has to be this place. I mean, we have that in our culture today. A husband, you say, well, I want to have intimate relationships with a woman. Well, you can, but it's only with your wife that you are married to. Only with well, let me just back up. It's only with a woman. First, we got to say that, right?
Yeah.
Only with a woman who is your wife. Right? And so, but people say, I want to do it my own way. And so God's like, no, that's a high place activity. You're doing it outside. Well, I'm just trying to love somebody. And there's nothing wrong with loving somebody. No, there isn't. And just like they're saying, I'm trying to just serve God. And there's nothing wrong with serving God. No, there isn't. But you got to do it his way. Amen. And if you don't do it his way, I don't care what you can call it. I'm serving God, or I'm loving God. You're trying to, but you're not. God is not receiving it. God is seeing it as distortion.
Form of God.
It's a form of godliness. And we tried to bring that out about how when we don't recognize sin. And I've been using that concept, that analogy of dog poop a lot. Right? And so, somebody bring you, I brought this person some roses, but they were smeared with dog poop. Who's going to take that? Nobody. Because they smell. The roses don't smell rosy. They smell like dog poop. And sin is like that. And it talks about how sin stinks in the nostrils of God. And that's why I try to use that analogy, because sometimes we try to figure out, well, how does God see that? He sees that as awful. It's repulsive. That's what sin is to him. And so we got to sometimes get an image in our mind when we do things, and we're trying to do it the right way. I'm bringing you the flowers, but they got a stench to it that's not the proper smell that roses are supposed to have. God's not going to receive our worship that way. A woman's not going to receive roses that's got dog poop on it. They're going to throw them out. They're going to, I don't want that. And so we're trying to bring worship to God, that's got sinful smell to it, idolatrous smell. And God's like, no, I reject that. I don't want any more of your offerings. And so a lot of this religious is forms of godliness, but not, but denying the power thereof. All right, we're finishing up. So he didn't remove the high places, and they burnt incense. But look what it says. He built a higher gate of the house of the Lord. So he built a defense, a high gate to defend the house of the Lord, which is good, but he's not obeying. He's fixing up the house of the Lord, but he's also allowing the high places to exist. Okay, and so it's just not a good sign. Once again, you got you got a pot of good smelling food, and you got another pot of rotten, spoiled food that has decayed, and you got both the pots sitting together. Now, one pot smells like appetizing, the other pot smells like you want to just gag and upchuck, because the food is rotten and decayed. But this is the kind of thing that they're bringing to God now. I'm bringing him some good, but some nasty. And we have to make sure that we try not to do that. And that's why we need the Lord to come and cleanse us and to remove all this rotten stench from us, so that we can come to God properly and admit that a lot of times we bring stuff to God that is not savory, that is not good, and God doesn't like it. And we have to ask God to show us when we do that. And we do it from time to time with our attitudes and our thinking and all that. And that's just part of how we are as human beings. But we have to acknowledge it. Right? And that's why the Bible says that David was a man after his own heart. Because David brought stank before God, but David what? Acknowledged it. He said, I have done wrong. All right, finishing up now. It says, now the rest of the acts of Jotham and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? Verse 37. In those days, the Lord began to sin against Judah, Rezin, king of Syria. So now, we got Assyria attacking Israel, and we got Syria, and once again, even these nations sometimes have similar names. So you got Assyria attacking Israel, and Syria now, God is allowing to come in and take a front against Judah. So now both the northern and the southern has these acts going against it. And Pekah, son of Remaliah, and so he had them come during his reign. It said, and Jotham slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father, and Ahaz, his son, reigned in his stead. Now it stops there. We're not done. We're going to see some more of this soap opera of kingships and from the northern and the southern and other outside kings that are coming in to invade. And their obedience and disobedience that's happening in these two nations. All right, we're going to stop here. I do apologize for going so long. Any comments or questions on what we talked about today?